I think we have pretty good quorum, so I think we can go ahead and kick off. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday, October 8th instance of SIG Documentation. We can go ahead and take agenda items as they come. So does anyone have any topics that they would like to discuss today?
Yeah. So I've got one. Sorry, I might be a little loud. There is a PR up for changes to the Rust stuff. There's a whole bunch of changes in there, but basically, I got a chance to work through the sort of the proposed changes that we talked about last week, and have been sort of hanging around in that thread for a while. So it would be great to get some reviews on that. But other than that,
you're talking about 310, right? The Rust language guide.
Yes. Yeah, it's turned into a bit more of a like general reorg of and sort of introduction of new sections for breaking out the sort of advanced stuff. But yeah, the main change is the Rust is the language guide, right? The main changes or is the Rust language guide, sort of simplifying it.
I saw that. I'll take a look at that week. Thanks for breaking that out. So too.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, likewise. So Victor, do you think I know there's a lot of back and forth discussion about this sort of growing out of complexity. Do you think it's good, sort of, obviously with more reviews, to merge as is in terms of like the structure?
Yeah, the structure I think is like works, or I like it. Like I think it's good to merge now. I mean,
Cool.
One of the things that sort of might hold me up is I'm not sure. I think I got every mention of cargo component because that was the original intent, was to like remove cargo component in favor of the normal sort of tool chain or cargo tool chain. And like maybe some of the pros is off and like some stuff like that. But in general, it's in a place where I think it's definitely ready to merge, and maybe a quick follow-up fix maybe, but yeah,
perfect.
Get more.
Perfect. I'd like to take a look at it as well. To that end, I know we talked about, and I agreed, sort of taking up work of like external to the component docs mention of cargo component. Do we have, like, other than the Zulip chat, do we have any other like official mention that cargo component is being sort of deprecated? So if should I pursue those changes then? If we, because like I was told, I think last time there was like a Zulip chat with, I believe, let me see what the one we linked was. I think that was the only reference I had while back, which, and I'm just gonna post it just for reference here, because we had a bunch of other bytecode alliance stuff that had mentions of cargo components being sort of the de facto way, or even de jure way of doing the component model in WASM, and I'm wondering if should I proceed with those pull requests? Like, to be clear, I was lazy and have poor time management. That's why I haven't done them. But is now still a good time to proceed with those PRs, to like update the other public facing documents?
I would actually wait for the TSC to make some official announcement, or for the cargo component maintainers to make some official announcement. You could proactively bump that thread where that conversation is happening and say, I'm here when you make that announcement to push through some changes. But I kind of assume that they're still talking through how to present that information.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Like in the meantime, the idea is to probably not try and do that work right on cargo component.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess one thing I was thinking of taking on next was kind of you remove the use of the adder host and instead use wasm time invoke as in this example or this issue that Pat put up. Um, Victor, you put up a kind of follow up to this that was saying, okay, that's great. Let's also use this as an opportunity to talk about how to build custom hosts. My only wondering is whether discussing how to build custom hosts belongs in WASM times documentation.
Yeah, so that's interesting because we kind of cover it with the guides right now. So like part of the Rust stuff that I sort of deleted and then sort of shifted around in that PR was how to build a custom host with like a WASM time component that does stuff. So I think that is like that. It is true that that should be in WASM time doc. So that's like, I think that's a given. And I think it would be a decision of, do we want to take that out of the guide now? Right? Because it's actually already in there. Oh, or yeah, I'd say it's already in there because I'm just thinking of like when you say build a custom host, that means that can mean a lot of different things. But generally, it's like writing some Rust code and then writing a host, a sort of host binding, right? Using host bindings, and we definitely do that. So it's a matter of like, do we want to remove that? I don't think we want to remove it per se, because I think it's something people may want to do that we can at least point to. But I mean, I'm not firm on that. Like if people think that, oh, we should actually just sort of focus only on the guest side of components, then we could do that. But I don't think it doesn't have a place. I think we can find a place for it. Yeah, basically.
That's a good point. We also have some examples with JCO too. And so we're not just doing WASM time. So I think as long as we do JCO and WASM time, I think that could work. So yeah, sorry. Cool. I'm gonna take that as a two-part issue though. I think we can take one issue of like simplifying, testing your components with WASM time invoke. And then we can have a follow-up action of creating a using host findings section that's all about using consuming components from the host side. And that should maybe be its own section rather than two. I think we need to decide whether that needs to be its own section or whether that's a subsection within language guides.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so I was just trying to take a look of where this is, and so it's in using WIT resources. So we actually walk people through basically how to write a host component when we do that in the WIT resources section. Now, in the past, that was in the Rust section directly, right? It was just like listed in that like super sort of massive Rust section. In the new PR, it's broken out into a separate section on using WIT resources specifically. So that's just some context. I agree with like that task still being sort of two things rather than one. But that task also gets sort of like sort of the ground is shifted under that task if we merge the PR that is there right now, because they definitely wouldn't be in the same place as it was before, if that makes sense.
Right. I think the PR, I haven't looked at it yet. From what you say, having that new using WIT resources already helps that. So by creating like kind of a language agnostic space for it. So that sounds great. We might not need to take, I need to look at how in depth that is again and see how much work there is to do there. But yeah, that sounds good. Um, do people have other topic? They have one more in mind. I think one area where documentation within the component world could be improved would just be some specific blogs that don't necessarily have to fit in the book. And I'm wondering what you all's thoughts are about that. Like if we were to produce more blogs that walk through specific scenarios and are, you know, specific to a certain thing, for example, creating a host component utilizes a guest component for something very specific. I don't know, but some blogs that really solidify why components, all of that, and are put on the bytecode alliances, like put out by the BA, and just kind of created more noise and just activity around this. I know separate companies do it independently, but it might be nice to just have more noise coming from the BA around components to kind of show the level of activity and the level of ability to engage. I'd be curious what people's thoughts are.
Yeah, I think to the guest point, my company is sort of having a lot of pleasant time using it for telemetry. I think specifically the guest part and sort of like how it extends the data pipeline. So uh, we like part of our contributions to Wasm Time has been just to get it to work on the Windows and soon Linux kernel. So we're running Wasm Time, at least Pulley, as an interpreter there. And a lot of like what we want to do is sort of provide a user space set of definitions to extract data without like modifying it. So like bar OT is a great example. So I could reach out to people internally and see what resources we have to sort of provide an example of like, hey, you can T this, you know, T like T double E, and sort of and sort of process data that you know streaming data in a way that's just like bar only and processable. Like I said, telemetry I think is a great sort of application for the component model.
Yeah, and I think that could transition us to a place of kind of brainstorming blogs. This kind of also takes us back to the fact that the Bytecode Alliance site has a news page, but it doesn't have a blog page necessarily. And I don't know if news is the right word for just general blog. So, um, and just kind of looking right now, a new news article happens like every 3 months, kind of 2 to 3 months. And it's very much project related. So I think having a news page is important for people who are subscribed to that, but it could be maybe nice to also have a blog.
Do you see many of the sort of blog posts involving sort of like runnable projects or examples? Because I think the pattern that most of the sort of like other companies or companies in the space that are doing this is like show a thing, like show new functionality, generally like focused around something someone can run. But there's also the kind of sort of more just explanation or like diagram heavy. So there's like diagram heavy content. There's like sort of content with like a sort of, let's say, small project attached or something people can run or just, something people can work through. Are you thinking sort of all of the above there or a specific kind of content?
I would say all the above, and people can link to their own examples, like in their GitHub repos, or we could provide even within documentation repo a folder for people to put their examples. I don't like that as much because of maintaining. But and then diagram based blogs also sounds good. This is also just like, I don't think this should be like a we should do this. I'm just curious of people's opinions too. It might very well be that the answer is kind of maybe what you're hinting at, Victor, is that like we've got this covered by companies already doing this, but just an idea.
Yeah,
I think
I think it's a. Oh, go ahead.
sorry, I think to Victor's point is like, should the blog post be sort of educational and hands-on in the sense that like, can you grab some code snippets from it and make it run, or should it be more of like a, this is where your logic would go? Like sort of like draw the rest of the owl type of.
Yeah, like it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kate, but it sounded like yes. The answer is essentially yes to both of those. Like those things, like we'll probably need a variety. I wanted to say that I agree. I think it's a good idea. I'd love a way for like, I don't know, let's sort of quote unquote the community. I say that in quotes just because it's like hard to gather everybody from all the. There's lots of different communities, sort of all sort of together, but for people to submit what they want to see, or to find some way that is driven by user frustration to like to figure out what to do a blog on, right? Like if we for example, if we like do a blog on, let's say, how to like maybe get started with some language, and I just won't choose a language, but like let's say C++ and using Clang and stuff, but no one is using that, and like they're more excited about, let's say Python or just Rust, then like I want to avoid that situation, right? Because we can show something or like hit some topic that we think is important for people to know, but like people don't end up referring to it because that's not what they had the problem with, right? Like even just stuff around like composition, for example, perennially under sort of explored, and so showcasing more of that sounds like a great idea. But if it's kind of a chicken egg problem, if no one's doing it yet, then like maybe the thing that we should put out first isn't that. Maybe it should be like just basic stuff. But also, right, there's like, we do want, there's room for to trying to influence what people do with the tool chain as well. So like there's both, but just to sort of wrap that up, my basic point is it would be great if we could gather the list of things we want to write about somewhere, and then try to inform that with external sort of, I don't know, indicators when we can, right? Like sort of user-based stuff.
I think that's just a good and general prerequisite for SIG documentation is like ignoring the blog, just like maybe doing pain points collection, because based on what those are, that can inform documentation in general, whether that's blogs or repos or component docs.
Okay, so concretely, can we like make an issue and pin it? Do you think that's a good way to sort of to do this? Like sort of like a we need your feedback or something like that, and pin it. It could link to a discussion or something where sort of if we have that turned on for the repo, but basically somewhere where people can report what they're having trouble with, or sort of what the docs could do better, like how the docs could be better essentially.
Yeah, I would say not just how can the docs, like the component doc book be better, but in general, like areas of documentation that people want, like what's missing. So yeah, an issue could work. We could also look through Zulip. We could use, because Zulip should be still being snapshot on GitHub. I haven't checked that that's still working, but we could also like ingest all of Zulip into an LLM and pull out um, pain points from people.
Okay, cool. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Okay.
Oh no, I was saying, yeah, I think sort of trawling on Zulip is one avenue. It's it's a little tricky because like some of the complaints are like really brief and in passing, and I've had like from coworkers, and I do wish like there's more of that like little nitpicks that would surface, and I have no idea how to find them. Like I said, it's just like coworkers randomly mentioning, oh, this part of the component docs isn't as clear, and I followed this guide. And I'm just venting. I really, I think you're not going to find as much of that on Zulip because typically people that, talk on Zulip are sort of like have a bit more confidence in sort of like their understanding of the component model and what in general, and they're sort of less likely to have like are actively encountering some of the smaller frustrations that like a beginner would. Not to discount it as like a good source of like data. It's just a different data set.
That's a good point.
I don't know, like maybe a poll might be like I don't know of a good way to like encourage people that are like dabbling or just like super beginners and like what's a good location for like maybe some sort of poll wouldn't hurt, but I don't know where to put it even if there was one.
I mean, honestly, WasmCon might be a good opportunity for this. Like maybe we could use WasmCon as an opportunity to gather some opinions.
That's really good.
I don't know how, but maybe we can brainstorm over the next couple weeks on how we could use that as an opportunity to assess the state of the world, slash purpose-driven development in general for us. Like,
Yeah, so I created that issue and pinned it. So at least we have something to point to, or like a place where people can sort of dump stuff. I didn't make a discussion, but I think an issue is probably not the worst way to do it. We can break it out if necessary. Yeah. Oh, another thing that I wanted to bring up. Oh, sorry. Is there any more discussion on this issue in particular? Did anyone want to chime in? Okay. So another thing I wanted to bring up is so David Bryant has been helping us gather stats from and basically periodically printing or posting them to Zulip. And the results are actually quite interesting because the sort of if you look at the link, the sort of list of sort of top pages, like the people spend the most time on the WIT page. So I think people are ending up using that as kind of like a reference and spending lots of time on it. There's sort of the Y component model page as well. Rust is sort of expected, but it's essentially the top language. And then Moonbit actually is quite high. So like JavaScript's not up there, Python's not up there. It doesn't fall in like the top 10, I think that is. What is it? 1, 2. Yeah, like 11 if you count the sort of root page, but we don't have like all the information per se, right? Like, or we don't have all the information, but like I think we have enough that's quite interesting. Also, like
I'm sorry, Victor.
get
Where's
there.
your reference to Moonbit? I'm looking through it right now.
Oh, sorry. So if you look in the top pages, so it's the second. If you look at his post, it's the second image out of 4. Yeah,
I see.
Yeah, yeah. It's a little hard to tell in Zulip, but he's David Bryant's like last post before I posted. Yeah. So yeah. So and I think that is part of that might be sort of, I don't know, temporary because the Moonbit PR I think did go in last month, right? So it might be just like a sort of initial burst of interest and also like people checking, right? Like, or like, oh, it's live now. We can push it out to all the sort of Moonbit folks. But I think it's an interesting insight. I don't know if it's a great use of like David's time to like, basically do these screen grabs every few months, but at least for now we have some interesting data.
I think this has already been helpful because one, the Moonbit part, but two, we're seeing it went from 1,000 visitors in the month to 1.4. And that could be seasonal traffic change with end of summer, people just getting more active. But um, I'd be curious what next month is because maybe that 0.4 is all Moonbit actually. I need to look at that. But we also almost didn't add Moonbit. And I want to acknowledge that because um, I think it does inspire the fact that was a good choice because the community needed a place, which is very clear. And it brought more people to the documentation in general. So um, also the WIT guide is number one, and we point to that WIT guide from a lot of repos. So I think if we want to get other pages up more, we need to start referencing it more. So whether that's like when your companies put out blogs, you reference the component docs, stuff like that. I personally don't think maybe we haven't had enough confidence in the docs. Maybe we'll get to a point where we love the rest guide after your PR merges, Victor, and the go guide after that PR merges to the point where we want to always point to the component docs, and people are doing that more. Um, and I think it'll be cool to see how numbers increase if we start referencing these docs more. Okay, I was trying to just write up some of those notes. Do people have other topics? Thanks for bringing that one up, Victor.
Nope.
Cool, then that lands us perfectly on the 30-minute mark. So I hope everyone has a good rest of their morning, and see y'all next time.